Guess what, guys? It's time to put the Land Rover back on stands again. So today's video is rear drive shaft. We got Leo from Land Rover Parts and Accessories Australia provided the goods and got this shaft to me, delivered personally before my trip, which is I'm stoked with. And I thought I'd show off my new sticker. So hitting that 1k subscriber mark, I thought I'd advertise my YouTube channel a little bit on the car. I'm stoked with how it's turned out, and that was done by Neil from Ferns Print. He's a local guy in Mundijong, just working out of his shed with all the proper equipment, and I think it's turned out great. So job wise, jacking the car up, we'll put him on 4 stands so all the wheels are off the ground, and that is to take any torque loading off of the wheels. You can also put your car in neutral if you want to, but I feel like it'd be easier with all the wheels up in the air, because then you can rotate the drive shaft around to get to all the bolts rather than having to use like a uni joint or something. So let's get to it. Alrighty, so tools for task are not very, you don't need much for this. You need a E14 Torx bit for your drive shaft, a 13mm socket for your center support bearing mount, and a 10mm socket for your heat shield. So the heat shield is just 3 10mm bolts and 2 10mm nuts, and then you got 2 center support bearings for your drive shaft, and apart from that you're just busting off these. But the most important thing to do first up is remove your paint pen, your drive shaft, as well as your diff yoke as well, so you know where to line it up afterwards when you pull it off. So I'm going to be doing that now. Alrighty guys, so that's the drive shaft out next to the new one. So obviously don't forget the paint pen from the yoke of the drive shaft to the yoke or mounting face and the transfer case and the diff. And then what you do with the new drive shaft, line it up and get your uni joints facing the same way. That just lines everything up in sync. Now I've pulled this off and I've had a proper feel of everything, I'm really happy that I'm changing this drive shaft, especially before this trip. So center bearing, even though it looked alright, is actually really rubbery. So I was getting a little thud, which I thought was the spline play, but I guarantee it's just my center support bearing, because if I put this here, you'll see how easy. So all the rubber's still attached, however it's really stretchy and it's quite cracked, so definitely needed changing. And just for example, that's the new one. This drive shaft has that play, and then this one's stiff as. And the rear uni joint, this isn't a greasable joint, it's a sealed for life one, so you couldn't do it on a service. But I don't know if it picks up for you guys how notchy this is. Same with this way. And just for comparison, see how smooth this moves. Now, things I like about this drive shaft. Uni joint is greasable. That's a big liking for me. This is the Bearmac brand. So Leo got this for me for, from memory, it was just under $500 delivered to my door. And she's a beast. So let's go chuck that on now. Also, sorry, rear bolts E14, front bolts E12. Just thought this was worth mentioning, guys, especially with drive shafts, stuff like that. Anything that's a rotating part, it's really important to make sure your surfaces are clean. If you have any loose foreign material, sand, rust, anything like that, that's a gap that that can possibly form over time, and then you end up with loose bolts. So same with threads. If you're torquing bolts, you're going to get an inaccurate torque if you don't clean any old Loctite and stuff off of the threads. And mounting faces, you would have seen I just went over with a wire brush and cleaned all the faces up. It doesn't take much, just a little bit of prep work, and you won't have to be doing the job twice. So same thing on this one. Now all I'm going to do is use a thread Loctite, as I love Loctiting drive shafts into place because I'd never want them to come off down the road. So I use the Loctite high strength thread locker. It is also said in the manual to replace bolts as you change them, but they're not a torque and then a stretch afterwards, not like an initial torque and then a stretch. They're just a set torque, so I think they'll be fine to go again. So I'm going to run them again. But if you don't feel confident, just order new bolts with the drive shaft. There's nothing wrong with that. Alrighty guys, that's the drive shaft all installed. So torque specs for you: rear bolts 155 Newton meters. What I like to do is paint pen the bolt to the flange as well, so I know if I jump under this after doing a few Ks whether the bolts are coming loose or not. I will however go for a drive and then double check these one more time just to make sure they've settled in properly. But that's, once again, that's an E14 Torx bit, 155 Newton meters, 13mm 35 Newton meters for the center support bearing, and for the fronts E12 55 Newton meters. Now this front one, as you're tightening it, the one that you've just tightened is going to be loose again, so just keep rotating this around and torquing until they're all not moving at all. That's very important. If you just go do one rotation of torquing to spec, then I guarantee you the one that you done first time around will actually be loose again. So just go around 2 or 3 times continuously torquing until none of them are getting any movement. I'm now going to be going for a drive, and I'll go for a drive, a lap around, bring it back in here, re-torque all of these again just to make sure, and then it's happy days. So another thing is as well, don't forget to grease your brand new uni joint on the rear. Now that's because these are a serviceable uni joint. You do this every time you do your engine oil. Grease that nipple. Very important. Thanks for watching guys, hopefully this helped. I'll catch you on the next one.